another week, another set of fixtures for the Premier League, which I'm here to predict once again for you guys. Last week, we had some good games, some big changes in the table. And I'm here to talk about those, as well as predict what I think will happen in this coming week. We got some good fixtures lined up. We had some great fixtures last week. I don't know how we'll top that match between Arsenal and Manchester City, but we're definitely going to try. I'm on a streak of 1 at the moment, so if we can keep that going, that'll be amazing. But enough waffling, it's time to take a look back at my game week 23 predictions. I'm going to start with West Ham United versus Chelsea. I predicted a 1-0 draw. And it was 1-0, boys. We did it, let's go. The streak continues. And it was João Felix who netted his first Chelsea goal. But unfortunately for him, that was cancelled out by Emerson's first Premier League goal as well. 2 players netting their debut Premier League goals. You love to see it. However, there was a lot of VAR controversy here with a possible handball call, which the Chelsea social media team really ran with. It's quite funny, not going to lie. Then move on to Fulham versus Nottingham Forest. Now, I predicted a 1-0 draw as well. It was actually 2-0 to Fulham. Now, this wasn't great for Forest, as we saw 2 of our starting centre-backs subbed off within the first 7 minutes, which, in case you didn't know, is not great. So it was never going to be an easy match for us. Fulham were clearly the better side and deserved the win, and it was a brilliant strike from Willian to open the scoring. But at least Forest get to chant, 2 subs in 7 minutes, you'll never sing that. Anyway, moving swiftly on to Leicester City versus Tottenham Hotspur. I predicted 3-2 to Spurs. It was actually 4-1 to Leicester, and my god, does this game produce goals. Flippin' heck, 5 goals in this one. It was Tottenham who opened the scoring for us with a Bentancur goal, but they couldn't defend their lead and then proceeded to get absolutely destroyed by Leicester. They got absolutely battered. It was actually kind of crazy. And then move on to Arsenal versus Brentford. I predicted 3-1 to the Arsenal. It was actually 1-0. The Bees once again caused Arsenal problems, but this game was not without its controversies either. A VAR shocker meant that the points were shared at the Emirates. There were VAR shockers for both sides, so it could have ended a draw anyway, but it was a shocker. The VAR had an absolute stinker this week. And then move on to Crystal Palace versus Brighton Hove Albion. I predicted 2-0 to Brighton. Again, it was 1-1. Another Premier League match and another VAR shocker. Brighton could and probably should have won this match had the VAR check been done correctly. Unfortunately for the Seagulls, the points were shared in London. Then move on to Southampton versus Wolverhampton Wanderers. I predicted 2-0. It was actually 2-1. The match that saw Nathan Jones get the sack from the Saints. I can't say I'm surprised. The Saints could not break down 10-man Wolves. I do believe Nathan Jones said them going down to 10 men was not a disadvantage for them.
Actually added more pressure on us.
He's a very strange man. The Saints went ahead before an own goal and a late goal sealed their fates. They're still down there, rooted to the bottom of the table. Speaking of bottom of the table, we now move on to Bournemouth versus Newcastle United. I predicted 2-0 to Newcastle. It was another 1-0 draw. What is it with the 1-0 draws this week? The Magpies missed a chance to extend their top 4 lead as the Cherries grabbed a vital point in their bid for survival. Almiron was back at it again. Then move on to Sunday's fixtures and we start off with Leeds versus Manchester United. I predicted 2-1 to Manchester United. It was actually 2-0. The second half of the Roses rivalry was not as good as the first half, and especially not as good for Leeds. They held out well for 80 minutes, but Marcus Rashford was there once again to crush their dreams. He is in insane form at the moment. It's absolutely crazy. And then move on to Manchester City versus Aston Villa. I predicted 2-1 to Manchester City. It was actually 3-1. And despite the heavy allegations levelled against them, City handily beat Aston Villa, showing no mind to these allegations. Haaland didn't have as much of an impact as was expected, but City weren't too troubled either way. Villa scored a goal, but it was definitely just a normal City game, really. Then move on to Monday's fixture and Liverpool versus Everton. Now, I did predict 1-0 to Everton, somewhat of a ballsy move. It was 2-0 to Liverpool. And it was a Merseyside derby that did not disappoint. Liverpool have been plagued with disappointing performances as of late, but Salah and Gakpo had other ideas as Klopp grabs a much needed 3 points in, hopefully, for Liverpool fans, a title charge. They do need to be getting points though if they want to retain some European football for next season, that's all I need to say. And finally, Wednesday's fixture of Arsenal versus Manchester City. Now, I predicted 2-1 to Arsenal. It was actually 3-1 to Manchester City. And all that can be said is Arsenal bottled it. The sides were even in the first half, but the second half was where City shone. Arguably, Arsenal beat themselves, as I think Man City had a total of like 39% possession for that whole match. But the title race got blown wide open now. Both sides are on the same points, but Arsenal do have a game in hand. So this has just got really spicy, and there's still the fixture at the Etihad to go. So those were my Game Week 23 predictions. I didn't do too bad, I don't think, despite only getting one result correct. I got some wins. I predicted wins right. So that's a participation medal, I guess. But we're going to move on to my Game Week 24 predictions, and hopefully we can get 2 predictions right. That's the goal. Will it happen? Probably not. So we start off our Game Week 24 predictions with our Saturday fixtures, and we're going to start with Aston Villa versus Arsenal. Arsenal will be looking to better their recent form, where they've only claimed 1 point in 3 matches. That's not title winning form. Villa's fortunes have been slightly better with 3-3, but still not great. Villa are a really tough side to face at the best of times, but this Arsenal side is brilliant this season. They're a different league. Despite their downturn in form, it would be pure Arsenal for them to keep bottling their title chances. There's every opportunity for Arsenal to keep up their title fight, especially against Villa. I'm going to say 2-1 to Arsenal. Villa can score goals, it's just winning matches that they struggle with, and I can see that repeating here. I think this could be the match that turns around Arsenal form before it can get much worse for them. I don't really see Villa being able to trouble Arsenal much aside from that goal. I assume they'll score. You never know, they could overcome Arsenal, but it's just looking really unlikely, even at Villa Park. Although, as I'm sure Arsenal fans would not like to be reminded, they've shown that they can be by sides that they would normally be considered inferior to them, so there's every chance of that happening here. But I'm going to keep my faith. I'm going to say that Arsenal will handle Aston Villa. And then move on to Brentford versus Crystal Palace, the team who love scoring goals versus the team who love to struggle. Brentford have been prolific in front of goal, only failing to score in 1 league match since the World Cup, whereas Palace's record is a bit worse. But they can score goals, just not as many as Brentford. Brentford have had a really successful season so far, currently finding themselves in 8th place, while Crystal Palace are occupying their place they finished last season, in 12th. Brentford host Crystal Palace and have been really good at their stadium. Like, the form at the Brentford Community Stadium is very, very good and very scary for anyone who visits. I'm going to say 3-1 to Brentford. I don't think Crystal Palace will cause the Bees too much trouble. As I've said, they're in brilliant form at home and really cannot stop scoring, especially at home. Brentford are currently unbeaten in their last 10 Premier League matches, and I don't see Palace ending that run, who are winless in their last 6. Obviously, there's a lot of draws sprinkled in there, but I think Brentford are just the superior side at the moment. And then move on to Wolverhampton Wanderers versus Bournemouth. Bournemouth travel to Wolves as they look to continue their quest for Premier League survival, which hasn't been going too well. Wolves' own Premier League survival quest has gone well so far as they've climbed to 15th in the table. This is under Lopetegui, who's got Wolves playing some really good football, and he's turned around their fortunes, whereas Bournemouth are struggling under manager Gary O'Neill. Wolverhampton have overcome some very tough sides recently, such as Liverpool and West Ham, so should be full of confidence heading into this clash. Bournemouth have brought in many reinforcements over the winter window in their bid for survival, and some of those players do look quality, but obviously there's integrating them into the side and getting them all playing the same style of football, which could take a bit of time. Bournemouth are much better at home, which I think applies to both sides, but they're currently winless in 7 Premier League matches. I'm going to say 2-0 to Wolves. I can't see Wolves having much trouble with Bournemouth at the Molineux. Lopetegui's got Wolves playing some really good football, as I mentioned, and that was best showcased in their win over Liverpool. Should be pretty easy for Wolves. And then move on to Brighton and Hove Albion versus Fulham. 2 high-flying sides face off in this clash as we see Fulham travel to the Amex, a tough place to go. Both Brighton and Fulham have been enjoying some successful campaigns, which has seen both sides sitting 6th and 7th in the table respectively. Brighton look like a strong side this season, and of course a lot of sides, a lot of issues. Fulham have also been playing some good football as well, but their recent form isn't the greatest. It should be a very interesting clash as these sides are both quite evenly matched. And both managers have got their sides playing some good, flowing football. I'm going to say 3-2 to Brighton. As I've mentioned, both sides love scoring goals, and I think we'll see a goal fest here. But I do think Brighton are more prolific in front of net, and I think they'll score, the winning goal. They have a lot of goal scorers within their ranks, and even the loss of Trossard has not stopped their goals for Brighton. Fulham also have multiple goal scorers too, but their main man is undoubtedly Mitrovic. It'll be a tough clash for both sides, but I think Brighton will take this one. And then move on to Everton versus Leeds United. A huge relegation scrap as Dyche's Everton play host to Leeds United. Everton have made some huge strides since Dyche came in, and despite their loss to Liverpool, they've been looking better. Leeds United have not been performing well this season and have brought in another manager since sacking Marsh. Leeds need to do a big shake-up if they want to survive in the Premier League, but I don't know if they have the resources to do that. I know it's only early days under Dyche, but Everton do look poised for survival, but as it is the Premier League, it will not be an easy run for them. This is a massive match for both sides. I'm going to say 1-0 to Everton though. I do think it will be a tough match, Both sides will face challenges from the other. I mean, it's football, that's normally what happens, but I think the Toffees will prevail. Watching Everton under Lampard and now comparing that with how they play under Dyche, it's very clear that their style has changed, and they've really adapted well to Dyche ball. Leeds look different under the interim manager Skubala, I think you pronounce his name, but we've only seen them playing Man United, so we can't say for certain how they'll play against other sides. They performed admirably against Manchester United, so it's looking positive for them. But it's just a huge match for both teams, and I think Everton will just about grasp it. I'm going to back the Toffees here. Then move on to Chelsea versus Southampton. Another huge match for Southampton as they face off against 10th place Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. It may sound odd and extremely unlikely, but Southampton have every chance to grab a result here. Chelsea have not been playing well under Potter, but results are looking positive and are slowly getting better, showing they're slowly getting used to the style Potter wants them to play. The Saints does look like the perfect match for Chelsea to actually gain some points and finally win a match. Whereas Southampton, they've just sacked Nathan Jones.
I could be sick.
And we're on the cusp of hiring Jesse Marsch, who they've apparently been monitoring for years, but that fell through. I think they offered him a 6-month contract. He was like, no. So, I mean, they let the man get away, to be fair. But, yeah, Southampton, they're not a great side this season, and something really needs to change if they want to survive in the Premier League. At the moment, looks extremely unlikely. Chelsea's side is full of quality, and it'll be a really good game for those new signings to show what they can do. I'm saying that like Southampton are pretty much relegated. In my mind, they are, but they do have a chance of survival. A very, very small chance, but they might survive. Although I doubt it. And then move on to Nottingham Forest versus Manchester City. And for some reason, part of me thinks we can grab a result here. Manchester City currently sit top of the Premier League after soundly defeating Arsenal. Whereas Forest, we're currently in the midst of an injury crisis. What I suspect, and what I also hope, rest a couple of their big players for this match, as they've got a very important Champions League match coming up against Leipzig. So, I'd like to see Manchester City rest a couple of their players personally. But then again, even a rested Manchester City side is very strong. The City ground has been the scene of some great upsets this season, so there is every chance we could see a repeat here. As optimistic as I want to be, I really can't see Forest getting much out of this match, but I do suspect we may be able to score a goal, to be honest. I'm going to say 3-1 to City, of course. Manchester City should not have many problems with Forest, but I do think the home atmosphere will be bumping. City demolished us at the Etihad, but we've come a long way since then, and also lost quite a few players to injury. I hope we let in less goals this time around, and that is wholly possible with a cheeky little Keylor Navas in net. Please City, don't demolish us like that, I beg. And then move on to Newcastle United versus Liverpool, and it looks like these sides have swapped positions in the league, with Newcastle currently occupying a top 4 spot, and Liverpool currently sitting in mid-table. Newcastle host a struggling Liverpool side who finally got their first win after the Premier League returned, which, is saying something as we're currently in February. This will have filled the Liverpool side with some confidence, especially with Gakpo scoring his first goal for Liverpool. Whereas Newcastle's results, they've lulled in recent times, but they're still a very strong side this season and will be looking to cement their position in the top 4. Liverpool will be looking to climb up the table in order to salvage a European place, so they need everything they can get, really. Liverpool will be playing with some newfound confidence, but Newcastle will be a much tougher side to break down than Everton. I'm going to say 2-1 to Newcastle. I think Newcastle will overcome Liverpool, but it will definitely be a tough match for both sides. This match will be a very good indicator for both sides as to how the remainder of their season may go. Obviously, it's not like set in stone, but it's a good litmus test to see where both sides are at and whether they can keep, if Newcastle can keep top 4 and if Liverpool can climb out of the mid-table. Who knows? But I do think the Geordies will come out top in this one. And moving on to Sunday's fixture, and we start off with Manchester United versus Leicester City. Manchester United have had a brilliant season under Ten Hag so far and are enjoying a lot of success at the moment. Leicester, on the other hand, haven't had such a good season, but have looked to turn it around with some very, very impressive results as of late. Manchester United are a side in great form at the moment, with Rashford specifically on fire in front of goal. That man cannot stop scoring. The influence is unmatched. Leicester have also looked a much better side since Maddison returned, and it just shows how important he is to that side, being their top goal scorer and assister. Leicester will give Manchester United a tough game, there's no doubt about that, as we saw them demolish Tottenham in emphatic fashion earlier. I'm going to say 3-2 to Manchester United though. Both teams love scoring goals, especially at the moment, but I see Manchester United just being able to claim all 3 points. Both sides play good attacking football, and in full flow each side looks very hard to stop. I think United just have the edge on Leicester as they are a very well-drilled squad. I think they should have better individual quality as well. It definitely won't be easy for United, but I don't see them not winning, so the only way is up for them. and then move on to Tottenham Hotspur versus West Ham United for our final match of the game week. Yeah, to round off this game week, we have another London matchup as we see Tottenham host West Ham. Tottenham will be looking to continue their quest for the Champions League football for a second successive season, but to do that, they need to start winning their fixtures. In fact, of all the top 5 sides, Tottenham have conceded the most. I don't really expect much to change here either, to be honest. West Ham are currently embroiled in a relegation scrap of their own, sitting just above the relegation zone, so any points they claim will be very useful in their quest for survival. I'm going to say 2-1 to Tottenham though. As I've said, I think West Ham will score, and I'm sure they'll score first as well. But Tottenham will do what they do best and come from behind to win. West Ham are one of the lowest scoring sides in the league this season, currently having only 19 goals to their name, and while I do expect them to score against Tottenham, it won't be enough to beat Spurs. They've really made it a habit of just coming from behind to win this season, and I think Spurs have the edge as well. Their side is very, very good. So yeah, those have been my Game Week 24 Premier League predictions. If you have any of your own, please stick them in the comments below. I do like seeing what you guys think is going to happen in the week in the Premier League. Some very interesting predictions, I must say. I've been O2GT. These have been my Premier League predictions. Hopefully, I get more than one right. But I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.